What do Falcons do? Rise up. Welcome to Rise Up Reactions, the show we talk all things Falcons, NFL, Georgia sports. Go freaking dogs, go! And in general, the sports news of the day. I am your host, Dr. Lee Denning, coming to you here on a Monday, January 9th, 2023. It is a Victory Monday. Now, granted, the Falcons season is officially over. We did finish with a win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to do two things to Tom Brady that he has never had happen in his career. One, he has never finished his career with a losing season when he was the starter for the majority of the season, and he had never lost to the Falcons until yesterday. So, a lot of people will call it a cheap win over Tom Brady. He played the first quarter and part way through the second quarter. For NFL statistics, the Falcons are going to count this. It does not matter how much of a game he plays. If he is the quarterback taking snaps at the beginning of the game and they lose the game, the loss is attributed to him. So, forevermore in the record books, however cheap it may be, it is a moral victory for the Falcons that we have done two things. Ruin his basically perfect attendance record, and then also ruin his perfect record against the Falcons. Let's freaking go. On top of that, we had a coming out party for Desmond Ridder getting 2 touchdowns. He did have one really bad fumble where nobody touched him. He just turned into Butterfingers McGee and just absolutely dropped the ball. It was turned into a Tampa Bay touchdown. Defense, up until that point, was actually playing pretty well. Had forced a fumble from Leonard Fournette. We couldn't capitalize on that and turn it into points. Offense, one really good 91-yard drive in the first half, then couldn't get a lot going until the second half. And in the second half, they did come out firing on all cylinders. The guy that was doing the majority of the work for the team, Tyler frickin' frackin' Algier. I am so glad that we have Tyler on contract for about $4 million total for the first 4 years of his career. I was really worried that he was only going to be on a 2 or 3 year deal and being a fifth round pick. He has proven himself as a workhorse, and he has set a rookie rushing record for the Falcons with 1,035 yards total on the season. I think that record, I forget who held it back all the way to 1979. It's before my time, but that's the last time that the record was established. Granted, there were only 15 games played then. However, you are talking about a guy who really didn't get a lot of love in the first half of the season. It's only been in the second half of the season that he has come alive. And just, if you will permit me, a brief moment to look at his yards in each game, if I can figure that out here. Yep, we're going to see all. Here's what we got from him on his overall yards. We have in the first half of the season 30, 25, 84, 45, 51, 50, 39. Then second half of the season 99, 20, 55, 54, 52, 139, 74, 83, 135. So definitely a little bit of an uptick there. His yards per carry also, his average increase. He ended with a 4.9 average per carry. He only had 3 touchdowns. As far as targets, he didn't have that many. 17 targets, caught 16 catches. He did have 1 passing touchdown. But still, I'm really impressed by this guy. I think he is going to be a staple of our offense going forward. And he's somebody that we need to build around. Cordarrelle Patterson, 5 carries, 18 yards, and a touchdown. I don't particularly care for Cordarrelle Patterson as a running back. I've said that all year long, and I don't think I'm wrong in feeling that way. Tyler Algier has very clearly outplayed him. Caleb Huntley, when he was in for a missing Cordarrelle Patterson, clearly outplayed him. And I hate that Caleb's been hurt the last few weeks, but he is still on our roster for 1 more year as of right now. And he'll be at a fairly low cost as well. But I think that next year our attack needs to be a 1-2 punch with Tyler Algier and Caleb Huntley. Cordarrelle, either, I don't know. He's going to be 33, turning 34 next year. He's my age, but more or less that is old in NFL standards. That is getting past your prime for skill position players in the NFL, and I think we would be wise to potentially move on from him. It wouldn't surprise me if we keep him for one more year as a rotational piece or try to move him back at wide receiver to provide a little bit more help. For Drake freaking London, who comes in with 6 catches for 120 yards. He and Desmond Ridder have a connection. It was an amazing thing to see live. I am so glad. And guys, here's the big thing for me on this one. This was the first time in 3 years that I have been to a game. I'm a season ticket holder. I don't go to every game every year. I try to give it to staff or, sell it to staff, sell it to friends, do that sort of thing. And I try to give it at cost. But I have not been to a win at home in 3 seasons. And I finally got to see one, and I got to see one that, even though it didn't mean anything for the playoffs, was still significant in terms of what it did to the legacy of one Tom Brady. So, Tom Brady, you get a loss on this one. He was 13 for 17 for 84 yards, so still not throwing a ton, but he was finding a bunch of dink and dunk. And our zone, as soft as it was not as soft as it's been in the recent past. You ended up having Blaine Gabbert going out there for a series. You also had Kyle Trask going out there for a series. Neither of them looked particularly effective. We did shut down the run game pretty effectively. They only had 86 yards. I think I said Leonard Fournette had that carry earlier. He actually didn't play in this game. I'm not sure if that was Gio or Keyshawn Vaughn. Just being full honest, I'm not sure because from where I was sitting, I couldn't tell exactly who it was. I assumed they were starting Fournette, but I don't know. I was much more concerned about seeing the Falcons, keeping an eye on them, than I was about keeping up with the Bucs players. But still, 30-17, we beat the Bucs. It is a good Monday for the Falcons. Now, what does that mean for the draft? We were already picking at the 7th spot. And before I go, Houston. Holy crap, guys. What were you thinking? Thank God that game was an away game for you guys. You beat the Indianapolis Colts. You failed at the finish line of your tank. You no longer are in control of who you get to draft at number 2 overall. You were drafting number 1 overall. You are no longer in control. That is horrible. Chicago, they've got trade partners now. Chicago has Indianapolis that they could potentially trade with. They would still potentially take a solid edge rusher at 4 overall. Arizona would probably take Will Anderson at this point. They can stay at 1 and take Will Anderson or whoever the best edge rusher ends up being. They can do about whatever they want, but they've got 3 teams behind Houston in the Seattle Seahawks, who did win and are going to the postseason, but I think they're still looking for a generational quarterback. They're currently picking 5th thanks to Denver. You got Indianapolis, who obviously needs to make a move at quarterback and needs to do it fast. They are currently 4, so they have a lot of value here. And then you have the, who else is there? You have the Detroit Lions, who Jared Goff has played okay. They did win, and they did end up knocking Green Bay out of the playoffs. I still am upset that the Lions at 9-8 couldn't make the playoffs. I feel like they were so close, and Seattle shut the door on them in an overtime victory. But again, I was hoping for the Lions, but still, I think the Lions are a great team overall. They have a bright future ahead of them. They could win that division next year because I think this is kind of a miraculous year for the Minnesota Vikings. But anyways, guys, Houston, you have the number 2 and you have the number 12 pick. You're still going to have a solid draft here if you stay there. But you had the chance to have the number 1 overall pick. All you had to do was lose. And again, thank God you were not at home, because your fan base would have absolutely booed you to existence for winning the game. They were cheering for a loss. They wanted to be in control of that number 1 pick, and you screwed them. Now, I get it. I have at least one friend, or at least acquaintance, if you want to call him that, who is in the NFL, and he has told me in the past when I was asking about, teams recognizing or realizing where they are for draft position, what that means to the fan base. The players don't care. They are going to go out there and they are going to compete every single time because their jobs are on the line. And they are meant to be out there putting on a competitive product. It's incredibly difficult when your organization has made crappy contracts, crappy trades, and really screwed you for years to come. This is their rebuild year. But guys, that's an epic level. That is Jets level from a couple of years ago where they were tanking for Trevor and ended up winning a game they shouldn't have to end up getting the number 2 pick. That's why they're still in a terrible position with Zach Wilson at quarterback, because they didn't go with Trey Lance, they didn't go with Justin Fields, and they didn't go with Mac Jones. They went with Stormin Mormon from BYU, who was really pretty unproven and raw, who had some high upside. He has turned out to be nothing. And they wasted the number 2 overall pick on him, but they had the number 1, and 100% they would have gone with Trevor Lawrence. Same type of position. You've got Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud, who are going to go 1 and 2 in some capacity as far as quarterbacks. But again, I do look for Chicago to trade that pick back, build up for the future, because they are building as well. They need a strong rebuild to go along with this. They already have the number 1 overall pick, and I believe they have another pick. I thought they had another first-round pick this year. It might be next year, but I thought they made a trade at some point for that. But maybe that's next year. Maybe that's in the second round. I'd have to go back and look. But still, they need draft capital. And the first overall pick may not be enough to get them into a winning position next year. So they probably are looking, again, to trade with Indianapolis, Seattle, or Denver. Whoever wants the quarterback of their dreams, whoever wants it the most, is going to get it. And right now, again, I actually think Seattle has the best shot because they do have 2 first-round picks at this point. Indianapolis has a higher first-round pick, so that would be somebody that they could look at. But again, Indianapolis, if the first 2 quarterbacks are off the board, they may go defense. They may go Will Levis. I don't know. C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young may fall that far as well. It's just really hard to say right now. We've still got a few months before the draft. There's going to be some content from me coming out pre-draft. I'm going to be doing some mocks from time to time. Obviously, those don't end up meaning jack crap when it's all said and done, but that's just what I'm going to be doing. But guys, again, this is mostly about the Falcons' win today. I am so glad that we finally stuck one to Tom Brady, finished with the exact same record as last year, and we did it with $60+ million of our salary cap going to players that do not exist on our team anymore. Playing incredibly competitive football with teams that we had no business hanging with. We only had 2 games this entire year that I would say were completely out of our control from beginning to end. Cincinnati and the second round of the Carolina Panthers, we still had a shot at the end of that game. I wish we had played or benched Mariota back after that second Carolina game so that we could have had more development for Desmond. 4 games is not really enough to make a solid judgment call, but he has done nothing but improve every single week. The fumble was bad. We can work on that. He has still not turned the ball over through the air. He has had 2 touchdowns to no interceptions. And again, other than that really bad fumble, he's played solid ball. He can still make some moves with his legs. I am incredibly excited for where this franchise could go. The Jags just went from being worst to basically first in their division. They are the absolute prototype for what we could be next year. Have a ton of money, years of some higher draft capital built up, and absolutely go nuts for the future. I think that we are certainly, with possibly up to $90 million, depending on if we cut a couple of guys, we are going to have the money to spend on some quality defensive players this year to really build up the area that's hurting the most. But guys, that's what I think. Thank you so much. I have built up to 67 subscribers at the time of this video. It means the world to me that you guys have stuck with me and have been with me through this first season. Thank you so much for watching my content. It's not over. This is not the end. I'm certainly going to continue through the playoffs. But as far as the Falcons season, now it's going to be all retrospective. What are we looking at for the future? How do we do in the past? That sort of thing. So that's where I'm going from here on forward with the Falcons. But we still have football to talk about. As far as tonight goes, go freaking Dogs, go. Let's go, Dogs. And I cannot wait to hopefully be a back-to-back national champion for my alma mater, my college love. Go Dogs, rise up. Thanks, guys, for watching. Like, share, comment. It really means the world to me. Consider subscribing if you like my content. It would really help boost me for the next season of football. But, guys, again, thank you. And as always, rise up.